Tomorrow, we're finally going to see the craziest episode in the whole history of the digital circus. And with everything we know right now, it's safe to say episode 6 is really going to kick off a whole new era in how things play out in the digital circus universe. So today I say we go over every single piece of the most important official info we've got so far just to be fully prepped for episode 6. Everybody still remembers that final scene in episode 5 where they straight up hinted that Jax and Pomni got way closer to each other while Regatha sank into complete loneliness, and along with that we saw this weird mannequin that's always peeping on the characters. Considering episode 6's events are going to take place in the digital circus grounds, we can easily say these events will follow right after the previous episode, which means that so-called first teaser for episode 6 could totally show up in the very first scene of the new episode. I mean, we're actually going to see a lonely Regatha who's right on the edge of depression, and even the trailer gave us a little hint at that. It's pretty likely this won't happen in the exact same spot as in that teaser, but I'm 100% sure the new episode's going to start with a scene of sad Regatha. Alongside that, we're going to see a new and I think way more genuine convo between Pomni and Jax, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a key moment for the new episode. Because if you take a closer look at Pomni in episode 6, you can easily tell she's never been like this before. Considering they told us the episode's going to run a bit over 33 minutes, which is no doubt a record so far, this convo could easily take up quite a chunk of time, and that means we'll get way more personal details that are definitely important for the plot. After that, we're going to get the kind of scene we're already used to where Kane gathers all the characters together, and that's where we got to remember San Diego Comic-Con and that very sneak peek that totally proves my point.
Hi, I'm Ming. And I really don't appreciate what your assumptions have done to my reputation.
You mean a whole guy for that?
Whatever the case, it's evident now that there's quite a bit of tension between you all. So maybe what we actually need to do are trust exercises.
I'm not falling into Jax's arms, if that's what you mean.
Don't worry, this will be a two-way trust exercise, where you'll each have to trust each other to not betray the other person. This is a private room where nobody can see or hear you once inside. And this is a loaded gun.
They showed us how Kane came up with another genius adventure under the codename Private Room, and the whole point was for all the characters to split into 3 pairs and have a real honest talk with each other. But on top of that, he hinted at one pretty interesting detail. We see a weapon, and I remember how I guessed that someone was definitely going to use it. Too bad back then, I couldn't even imagine that literally everyone would end up using it, but under totally different circumstances. Let's be real, and admit that Private Room would have been a crazy, boring adventure, and I'm pretty sure Jax was the first one to say it out loud, and then the rest backed him up. And if we remember the one-word description of episode 6 and the original concept of episodes being focused on certain characters, then it's safe to assume Jax asked for way more weapons, and Kane took it. So literally, he made him enough guns and ammo to arm the military of some small country. But we remember that in Private Room, there was supposed to be a split into 3 pairs, and everybody actually liked that concept, so that's exactly how they started pairing up. Thanks to that scene, I can say for sure the characters teamed up on their own. And since we know Jax and Pomni have been getting closer, it made total sense for them to be in the same team, and their team's called Bad Guys. Starting from episode 4, we've been seeing how Zubul and Gangle's friendship keeps getting stronger and stronger, so it's no surprise they decided to team up too, and the name Unmasked fits them perfectly. And judging by that scene, it's pretty clear Kinger and Regatha obviously didn't want to pair up, but they just didn't have any other choice. Honestly, I think that's exactly where all of Regatha's problems are going to start, because I'm more than 100% sure she really wanted to be on the same team with Pomni, but our favorite jester went and picked a totally different partner. And that's perfectly shown in this scene. And throughout the whole trailer, I never once noticed Regatha trying to use this as a chance to, let's say, get back at Jax. Instead, even here, they showed us she's still stuck in that same depressive state as at the end of episode 5. Honestly, she got insanely lucky ending up on the same team with Kinger, because if we remember from episode 3, he's actually a great shooter, and even though we already know Regatha's gonna lose one of her 3 lives, Team Pew Pew still has every chance to win thanks to this guy. Also, check out this scene where it's clear Zubul ain't too happy about what's gonna go down next, but she can't do anything about it anymore. And for some reason, I'm sure throughout the whole adventure she won't be aiming to win. Her main goal's gonna be to take out Jax, because we all remember how they feel about each other.
Seems fitting for you, though. I figured you'd be into this.
What does that mean? What's that supposed to mean?
I'm just having fun. I forgot you hate fun.
I don't want to wear this! Turn straight.
My limbs straighten up and f*** off.
What about you?
He refuses to show us because he's a coward.
I want to keep the mystery alive. What do you, the viewers, think it is?
Will you stop doing that?
And now it's time to talk about the main faces of the new episode, and it's obvious we're talking about Jax and Pomni. We've known for a while that Jax is crazy into guns, and for him this adventure's like heaven, but if we think back to Pomni in the last few episodes...
Hey, Ragatha. You want to bat for me instead?
I guess I could. If you really don't want to.
Think of it as a second chance to show him who's boss.
Yeah.
So what was it like being stuck with the nutcase?
It wasn't that bad, actually.
It kinda gets scary how much Jax messed with Pomni in just one day. I've never seen Pomni so fierce and, let's say, bloodthirsty like in this trailer, and the crazy part is that's just 1 minute out of a 33-minute episode. Something tells me, after watching episode 6, we're gonna see Pomni in a totally new light. I won't even focus on some cool details like the fact that Jax finally found his tail, which somehow went missing, and he only realized it in episode 5.
Yes, I do. What the? Where's my tail? How long have I not had my tail?
I have never seen you with a tail.
Or that we're gonna get another round of roasting Gangle. Most importantly, we gotta remember Gooseworx's post where episode 5 was called Silly Before the Storm, and it makes sense that starting with episode 6, we're gonna see real madness. And judging by this trailer, Gooseworx definitely didn't lie to us. And this madness is for everyone. And something tells me Gangle's gonna start learning how to live without the comedy mask, and you gotta admit that's gonna be pretty interesting to watch too. Like always after the new episode's trailer drops, the banner changes on the YouTube channel or on X. And this time Glitch just confirmed what I said, that Jax and Pomni are gonna be the key characters in the new episode, and I never really noticed their rooms are right across from each other, which is pretty symbolic, given everything that's been going on lately. And of course we can't not mention last week's main dude of the Digital Circus universe, Kane. Looks like the Digital Circus Awards was kinda like a warm-up before episode 6 dropped, so we can pretty much treat that event as, let's say, a leak. In that case, it's safe to say episode 6 is really gonna be the start of the madness, and our sharp-toothed admin's gonna play a pretty big role in it. Even though we saw him pretty chill in the episode 6 trailer, I'm sure the real juice is hidden off screen, and what we saw is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Kane. As we all know, the new adventure is going to be a shootout between 3 teams, Pew Pew, Unmasked, and Bad Guys. Pew Pew's got Kinger and Ragatha, Unmasked's got Zooble and Gangle, and of course some of the most important characters for the new episode are in Bad Guys. And if you didn't catch it, yeah, I'm talking about Jax and Pomni, and it's only logical that Kane's going to be watching over all of this. And if we remember that teaser, where photos of our characters were scattered around, even back then, we could have guessed each team's lineup, cause Glitch gave us a pretty subtle hint about it. On top of that, there's a myth floating around about that teaser right now, and I'm gonna bust it in the bonus part of the video, so make sure you watch till the end. Since we know for sure that each character is gonna have 3 lives, and each one gets taken away if they get hit, it's only logical that some team from this list's gotta win. And even though most fans are rooting for Team Pew Pew, today we're gonna dig deep into the personalities, skills, and of course, the logical chain that's important for the plot moving forward, and finally figure out which team's gonna be the most ruthless toward the others and snatch their well-deserved gold medal. I already told you the lineup for each team, so let's start with something light, like Team Unmasked. In the trailer, we saw that while Zooble's at least trying to fight back against the others and could probably even take a couple lives from someone, Gangle, as usual, does nothing except sit in the corner, cry, and flinch at every bullet. A so-called soldier like that's clearly not going to help much in reaching the main goal. But if we look at Zooble, it's pretty obvious that in some scenes she also looks kinda sad, and that's already a huge problem for Unmasked, cause if Zooble starts getting gloomy along with Gangle, this team's in for some serious trouble. Still, I'm more than sure those scenes are tied to yet another round of talks with Gangle, and it's super unlikely we'll be seeing Zooble like that through the whole episode. But even in the most optimistic scenarios, I don't see a single one where Unmasked could actually win, only if Pew Pew and Bad Guys end up wiping each other out. Still, like I've already said, Zooble's definitely going to stir things up in episode 6, and it still won't help them win, because if you think about it, Zooble's pretty level-headed and calm, and totally gets that these bullets aren't going to cause them any real pain, let alone death, so there's no reason to fear for their life. That's why I think Zooble's gonna hunt down just one character and completely ignore the rest, and of course, I'm talking about Jax. If we sum it up for now, this adventure's gonna be absolutely meaningless for Unmasked, and they'll just calmly take a full loss in this shootout, landing their quiet 3rd place just like in the favorite team vote. So, with the so-called pacifists out of the way, now we're getting to the real heat. I'm first going to tell you the strengths and weaknesses of Pew Pew and Bad Guys, and then I'll answer the main question of this video. I already told you that Pew Pew's made up of Kinger and Regatha, and this kind of weird team lineup is basically because they just didn't have a choice. Everyone else already knew who they were going to team up with even before the teams were officially announced. And yeah, the weak spot here is definitely Regatha, because in the whole trailer I only saw her holding a gun once. Most of the time she's running away, scared, sad, and catching bullets. And it seems like her partner's a total lunatic who sometimes doesn't even get what the conversation's about. With that in mind, Pew Pew looks like the obvious underdog, but if we think back to episode 3...
Problem this way too!
Just leave it to me. I can handle this. Well, that wasn't so bad.
That's where things get a lot more interesting, cause Kinger's actually one of the best shooters in the digital circus. A guy who can pull his head together at the exact moment it's needed. Episode 3 shows it perfectly, where in a dangerous moment, when he had to protect someone else, he managed to calm down, focus, and easily handle a threat way bigger than just a few residents of the amazing digital circus. I think the turning point's gonna be some kind of meltdown from Regatha, cause she's scared of everything going on around her, and that's when this guy's gonna show what he's really capable of. And of course, the most hyped up, let's say, collab is in Team Bad Guys, and I'm 1,000,000% sure that brutal and honestly kinda overused name was cooked up by that purple dude who finally got his tail back. Honestly, I don't see any weak spots in this team, and even though Pomni was scared to pick up a gun at first, once Jax gave her a little training, we saw a version of Pomni so fierce that even the evil Pomni just quietly chills in the corner while our Jester's having a blast. If we look back at that scene again, it's clear Jax, just like Kinger, is a top-notch shooter, and judging by that love for weapons we've seen before,
I'm going to be hunting the critically endangered red ribbon rhinoceros. Just like Mom used to make. All right, Gangle, when we catch up to him, I'll jump over, crawl inside, and shoot him repeatedly until they're unrecognizable.
we get that in the real world he'd definitely be a regular at some shooting range. And if we add in Pomni, who's basically gone wild with her new skills, it honestly feels rough for the other characters because those two ain't gonna show any mercy to their so-called friends. Given everything we just said and the fact that episode 6 is mostly gonna be about Jax, his relationship with Pomni, and his past, I think it's pretty logical to assume this team's gonna come out on top thanks to their skills and ruthlessness, while Pew Pew takes second place by a small margin. And if we think about who might get taken out in this shootout, Gangle and Zooble come to mind right away. Maybe Regath'll get hit by Jax. Kinger's got a 99% chance to survive this new adventure, and Jax and Pomni will come out intact at the end. The only thing left to guess is how many lives they'll still have. All that was the logical and most likely way things will go down, but hey, we totally have the right to imagine stuff. And let's be real, if for some reason Jax gets taken out, it'd be way more interesting to watch how the story unfolds after that, and how it'd affect his friendship with Pomni. Also, I got this idea on how to make this adventure way more interesting and intense, and even though it probably won't happen, I gotta share my crazy theory of the perfect adventure based on what the episode 6 trailer showed us. We all noticed lately that Kane's been losing it more and more, and it'd be cool if, to hype things up and get us more into Kane's adventure, our sharp-toothed admin cooked up a secret punishment for the first one to lose all 3 lives. And as scary as that sounds, that punishment could very well be getting abstracted, and that'd really crank up the heat of the battle to a whole new level, making episode 6 legendary. But like I said, that's unlikely. Though considering Regatha's mental state recently, and the fact we saw her lose one of her lives, it's pretty likely she'd be the first to turn into an abstracted monster shown in full detail. Either way, every digital circus trailer just scratches the surface, and what'll really go down is still a mystery. And remember how I promised to bust some myths around the new episode, including that teaser with the team photos. Some fans got hung up on the direction the gun's barrel was pointing, and because it was aimed at Jax, they started guessing something awful's definitely gonna happen to him. But here's where it gets crazy. Lots of folks noticed this weird ashtray with a kind of mysterious M on it. But it all makes sense if we go back to episode 3, where we already saw that same ashtray with that exact letter. On top of that, lots of folks remembered that some minor AI characters can pop up in multiple adventures, like Gummigoo did in episodes 2 and 4, or Orbsman. We got a clear hint that characters have run into him before. Putting all that together, some fans started guessing that something awful might happen to Jax at the hands of that mysterious Martha Mildenhall. Honestly, that sounds like a pretty far-fetched theory to me. Basically, that teaser just revealed the team lineups for the new adventure early on, and those same photos will be checked out by Kane later with interest. And that ashtray? It just fits the vibe of the teaser real well and is nothing more than a simple Easter egg. And finally, here's some food for thought. Have you ever wondered why Jax got that, let's say, special gun? Because if you look closely, everyone else's weapons are pretty normal, if you can even call them that. And Jax's is that golden gun? Finally, we got that so-called promo for Team Bad Guys, and looks like Pomni's really gonna show us her true self. And honestly, I'm already scared for the rest of the digital circus crew. Jax ain't showing us anything new while Pomni's straight up obsessed with this whole adventure. And the only thing I'm really wondering is why the hell she needs corn. And just a funny little fact, in this so-called teaser, bad guys are standing right by Kaufmo's door. No clue if that's a hint or not, but it's definitely an interesting lil detail. Just recently, Glitch dropped another post hyping up one of the teams, and obviously, we're talking about Unmasked here. If we think back to the description of that teaser, now this is my kind of team, full of zest and confidence, ready to cause absolute chaos. Whether that be to themselves or others is anyone's guess. I feel like for a lineup like this, it's the perfect description, because if you think about it, in episode 5, Zooble straight up made it clear she's not into any wild adventures and she's way more into chill stuff like her little bar hangout, some stargazing, or that softball game that was mostly just verbal chaos but overall pretty calm. And if we think back to the episode 6 trailer, it's easy to see the whole thing's just one big mess of chaos, which is definitely not her vibe. As for Gangle, no matter what kind of adventure it is, she's always finding some problem with herself, and I can totally picture a scene where she gets shot a couple times and we get that classic crying Gangle moment where everything's terrible and nobody loves her. Just picture that for a sec, and tell me how in that case Unmasked are supposed to cause chaos for anyone but themselves. But if we actually look at the teaser, Gangle's part is pretty standard, while Zooble's sitting there with her sniper rifle looking all determined. And it's kind of interesting to think if she's actually going to carry the comedy mask with her so she can, bring Gangle back to life in the heat of the moment. Still, this pic raised a ton of questions, and the biggest one came from this user. Why is she inside Gangle? To which Goose replied, they're really good friends. I get that it might seem a little weird, but let's not go adding stuff that's not there. Most likely Zooble's just carrying Gangle so it's easier to move around without her getting shot. At least that's what I'm hoping for. On top of that, we also got what you could call a promo push for Team Pew Pew with Kinger and Regatha in the lineup. These fearsome-looking characters sure do put the fear of God into you. Well, maybe not fear, but maybe chaos. Diet chaos. Vote for them now. Noticed how much they're throwing the word chaos around in these posts? That's actually pretty intriguing, especially since we already know the era of chill episodes ended with the final scene of episode 5. I'm thinking every EP from 6 onwards gonna be crazy good, but for now let's break down the teaser itself. We see a scared Regatha holding a gun in one hand and a shotgun in the other, and Kinger who's catching butterflies. If you remember the actual trailer where it was the other way around, you can pretty much say this is a reflection of these characters at the start of the new adventure. Kinda like in episode 3, where Kinger was also, let's say, not totally in his right mind. And the moment there was any real threat to his life, he instantly flipped into a totally sane character. So it's pretty fair to guess we're gonna see the same kind of deal in episode 6, with the real soldier side of Kinger only showing up after the first shot gets fired their way.